Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video, and today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends Cloak and Dagger, part of the Spider Build-A-Figure series. And since I don't know what kind of savage would buy Cloak and Dagger separately other than a customizer, I figured let's do the review together as well. So we have Cloak and Dagger displayed in the front window with their names down there at the bottom. Both of them have that logo at the top and the same artwork on the sides. And then on the back we get the same product shot, but we do get separate read-ups. So for Cloak, a hooded vigilante in the war on drug crimes, Tyrone Johnson uses powers of darkness as Cloak. And then for Dagger over here, Tandy Bowen channels her unrivaled possession of light force into signature light dagger weapons, earning herself the name Dagger. And then at the bottom we have the UPC code for each one. So there's the UPC code for Cloak and the UPC code for Dagger. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and get this open and take a look at Cloak and Dagger. And here is Cloak and Dagger outside of their packaging, looking really cool. I'm actually pretty pleased with these figures. One thing that would have made Cloak better would have been a cloth Cloak, and that is a tall order for a Marvel Legends figure. But with a character that is really just that's his big thing, is the Cloak. Having a solid molded piece makes it a little bit difficult to do any kind of dynamic posing. You'll see when we get to the articulation. I mean, you can't really do anything with the articulation beyond some simple moves like what I have here with his hand just kind of sticking out. So, is what it is. Dagger comes in looking like just your standard female body mold, but it still came out looking really good, and I am happy to get these figures just because they were actually a big part of the Maximum Carnage story arc with Spider-Man, and the fact that we're getting more and more figures from that story arc really makes me want to do a Maximum Carnage display. When standing straight up, Cloak comes in at 6.5 inches tall, which puts him at about 16.5 centimeters, and Dagger comes in at 6 inches tall, which puts her at about 15.2 centimeters. They do each come with a Build-A-Figure piece. Cloak comes with the head, and then Dagger with the body of the SPDR or Spider Build-A-Figure, which we'll look at that when we actually put them together. Other than that, Dagger does come with that effects piece, so let's take a look at that, and then we'll get a better look at the figures. And taking a look at the Dagger effect, it's pretty straightforward. I know it's a little overexposed here. Let me turn the lights a bit. There we go. And it's kind of a pearlescent white. I don't know how well that's showing up there. And there's not a whole lot of detail, which with this effect, I don't think there really needs to be. They kind of look more like just diamonds being flung out. And we can see that we just get this little piece here that you can put on her wrist. And then you get that swooping motion that you can get with it. And yeah, I think that actually looks pretty cool. I think that's a pretty neat accessory to include with it. And starting first here with Dagger, we can see a really well executed head sculpt, and actually the paint doesn't look too bad either. I can't tell, does that eye, actually no, I think that eye looks like it might be, yeah, pretty good. But the lipstick came out looking good. Maybe the eyes look like they're too far apart. Is that just me? Oh, yeah, I don't know. They look like they might be too far apart. Then you get that design there around her eye, and what does she have there? A little mishap of paint on her cheek. Yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer. But the hair came out looking good. Nice blonde hair with some subtle highlights there with a little bit of a dark wash. So I think that looks really good. And it looks like we got a little splotch there too. So yeah, a couple of issues. And then going down the rest of the figure, I know it's hard to see, and I do apologize. Let me see if we can, there we go. That makes it a little bit easier to see. She's just all white. The only paint that we have is this design here, which is meant to be her open, it's a slit in the top of the outfit, and gets a little bit, yeah, a little rough there down at that piece. And actually something that's interesting, so if you notice the design straight down and then that piece coming off, yeah, Silver Sable has that same design. So whatever machine they made Silver Sable on, they just use the same thing, or rather the one they made Dagger on, they use for Silver Sable. So there's really no paint here. So we get a standard female body mold and no other paint except for right there, and then it's just all white. So, and I mean, it looks good, so I'll give you that. And they did actually add some paint to the hand there, which is part of the costume that just comes down over the hand, and that doesn't look bad. But yeah, so I mean, pretty straightforward. Looking at our articulation, you have a head that can go side to side, but that hair is going to make it look kind of weird. You can actually look down pretty far, and it doesn't look too odd, but going back, yeah, the hair is going to push it back, so nothing that you can really do with that. You have shoulders that can come up, about right there, but you do have full rotation, and then you do have a single jointed elbow with rotation at the elbow there. Then you do have a hinge and rotation there, and then I just realized the hinge is white. Yeah, I guess that makes sense though for the backside. Then you do have a diaphragm joint. We can go side to side, and it was really stiff on mine going this way, but yeah, you get a little bit back and forth and side to side on it, so you do get a little bit of range on there, so that's not bad. And it is painted all the way back, so that's at least good. You have legs that can come apart. Not very far at all. Kick forward, not bad. Backwards, not too shabby, I guess. A upper thigh cut, double jointed knees, and then you do have a hinge and ankle pivot. And getting up close now on Cloak, we can see a very well executed head sculpt in my opinion, and didn't need a whole lot of paint. The paint that we did get there around the goatee looks like it might be a little bit off with the detail of the goatee that is sculpted there, but the white eyes look good, and there are actually painted on eyebrows there as well, so that came out looking good. And I really like the expression that they got on here, and yeah, I think it was a really well done head sculpt. You can actually kind of see, so as I move my fingers behind here, the cloak itself has a little bit of a translucence to it, so that is pretty cool. And I do like the design of the cloak. I think it came out looking pretty neat, and I like the material used and then the colors used. Looking down real quick at that, so we have this clasp here that does actually just have this little tab, so that's how you can keep that on. But then it does cover essentially his entire body, as you can see. And you can see again what I'm talking about with that translucence there. But yeah, I like that. It looks good. Very well done. But if you did want to see what it looks like there, yeah, I'll point this out too. This hand is incredibly loose. Like, it doesn't even bite at all. That's what just fell off. But yeah. So looking at this body real quick, you can see again a little bit of a translucence there, a little bit purple. You can see it a lot better there on the hands. Really neat looking. I like that. I don't know how well it's coming through on the camera, but yeah, I think that is really, really cool. And yeah, I don't know. I just like that. Looking at the articulation, so with the cloak on, you're really not going to have much articulation, but you do have a head that can go side to side, look down quite a ways, and look up, but all of that is going to be hindered by that, and everything from here on in is going to be hindered by the cloak. But you do have arms that can come up about there, full rotation, bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, and then you do have a hinge and rotation, but man, that hand, that's going to annoy me. I'm going to have to do something about that. You do have an ab crunch that can go down that far, can go back that far, legs that can come apart hardly at all, kick forward, backwards, upper thigh cut, double jointed knees, boot cut, and then you do have a hinge and ankle pivot, but again, you're not going to be using most of that. And just to showcase real quick, if you wanted to do something where you have Dagger coming out from inside of Cloak, you could do something like that where you take his body off, the head can just rest on the top of the cloak itself, and then it's so rigid it'll stand up, and then you can mess around with some poses to have her sort of stepping out of that cloak. And I think it works. You will have to kind of mess with it. I'm not totally satisfied with how this looks from all angles. The only downside is you can't really have Cloak at that point turning or looking at anything because the head isn't going to sit properly since, yeah, there's nothing there. So he's going to always be looking straight ahead. But, I mean, it is an option if you wanted to do something like that. And finally, here we have the entire Spider Build-A-Figure wave standing next to each other. We have Daredevil and Elektra, the House of M Spider-Man, the Spider Build-A-Figure, Cloak and Dagger, the Scarlet Spider, and Dr. Octopus. And that about does it for this review, everyone. Make sure to check in the comments down below. I will be leaving my final thoughts in a comment down there, and I would love to hear your thoughts as well. So make sure to check down there and leave your comment. I want to hear from you. Make sure to hit that like button if you like this review or the figures. Make sure to subscribe for more content just like this. And aside from that, I appreciate you stopping by and watching my video, and have a great day.